at the show today. I want to talk to you about how Cornerstone has a holistic vision of energizing learning, making it, there's many point solutions here, but they don't really address the needs, in totality of the modern learner. And I wonder how many of you might be identifying with some of these traits. We're impatient, we're distracted, we have things coming at us from multiple pressures with regards to our work environment and the way we learn, which is really increasingly at a distance. And often, we're not really looking to one single source of the truth for the learning that we need to take to succeed, either in our career or even personally. What we're finding is that there's more of an impetus to share and to collaborate with other people. Yes, there's always historically been that 70-20-10 approach, but we are increasingly becoming comfortable when we learn from others. And to accomplish that, it's more than just shoveling e-learning at people nowadays. It just doesn't work like that. You see many different modalities of learning, many different technologies to bring learning directly to the modern learner. So I want to focus on 4 points today. I'm going to try to show a little bit of each. I want to talk about simplicity, speed, intelligence, and really why Cornerstone is an excellent platform to bring all of that together and show you a few examples. I love to show the platform because everything I show you is from a live platform, and I'm hoping the internet cooperates today. So Cornerstone, for those of you who might not know, is of course a learning, started out as a learning company 17 years ago, actually 18 years ago now in 1999. And learning has always been at the core and the focus, but at the same time, we've always evolved with learning trends and technologies. We want to keep, today's learner wants things simple. There's a risk today of actually overtraining, over-delivering training to people. There's a risk of, not respecting the modern learner's, wish to take, the Attawad scenario, anytime, anywhere, any device. There's increasing demands on the flexibility of learning and development, and indeed modern companies to offer modern learning. So some of these I'm going to highlight for you include bringing, everyone's talking about this Netflix stuff, and it's great, but the idea is it works. I want to pick content. I want to browse through content. I even want to have a friendly face to the content that's been pushed to me. I want it to be familiar. I don't want to have to read a user's manual on how to learn. At the same time, however, Cornerstone's been in the business of collecting data and really developing the modern cloud-based learning market for 17 years. We've gathered, used, analyzed a lot of the data that we've collected on how people learn, what modes, formats, et cetera, work for modern learning. And what we've done is we've started to apply in the most recent releases of our software the standard, the machine learning element. But what for us, what it means is, since we already have 30 million users using our platform, it allows us to deliver guided, personalized recommendations to people based on who they are in your organization, what they do, and what they aspire to do. That's most important. And of course, everyone is doing, the app. Everyone is making, mobile responsive content and certainly interaction. I don't propose anything new in that particular space. We're really agnostic to the kind of content and experience that we deliver. We're not a content author. We're not a content provider. So that if any of the content you choose to acquire from any of the great vendors who are here at this show, we're happy to A, deliver it, B, personalize it, and C, we're going to make sure that we don't lose sight of the fact that in many cases we need to still be able, it might not be compliance training, but we still need to be able to report on it and make sure that people are being trained properly, people are responding positively to the training that they're receiving, and we still can't lose sight of that fact. Okay. So first of all, there is that obvious need and desire for mobile learning. But have you thought about the fact that, if you get all of this, all the mobile learning opportunities offered by people at this show, at the end of the day, you still have to account for the fact how much you've trained your people. Are they being, properly trained? Are they being undertrained or overtrained? What is the level of satisfaction with regards to the training that they're receiving? And furthermore, can we turn learning into a productivity tool, not only for the learner, we know they can do it, but what about managers? What about even extending administration of the system in certain areas where it makes sense to a mobile responsive format? So from my first little bit of quick show and tell, we're going to give this a try and see if it works out. There we go. Theoretically. Is that even, okay. All right, now I can show you. There we go. All right. We got there in the end, folks. Sorry about that. So the idea is, yes, for the learner, they want a way that they can engage with learning. And again, whether by, in this case, application or whether by responsive design, there's several things. It's more than just taking the learning. So pardon for a moment while I wait for that to refresh. The idea is, yes, anyone can offer content which can be delivered over a mobile device. I can take it online, I can take it offline, that's great. But what about the broader sense of actually knowing or being informed on your mobile device when this training is up and coming or when it's due? So it's nice to have a sense of when things are coming. But just as importantly, it's also nice to interact with other people in your team. So the idea is that we don't only learn from training, we learn from people. And so everyone has the concept of a learning profile, skills, talents, and other types of capabilities, which in the modern world, I might want to identify, group, team with people who share my interests, whether that be traveling, leadership, whatever that may be, and being able to actually have the system function as a way to provide people who can assist with my learning, my development goals, not just the content and the training. Okay? All right, moving right along. Let's hope that that works out. But at the same time, we want learning to be, learning is no less of a personalized experience. So as I go to my role, I'm increasingly finding that I have more than one role to fulfill. I have multiple demands on my time. I have multiple types of learning that I can receive, to get it. And the idea is that I want to make this smarter. I want the system to recommend training that's appropriate to me. I want to be able to collaborate with people who share my interests, who actually can provide solutions, to my problems, and also guide me in my development and my induction, new to role, etc. So, let's get this show and tell out again. Just want to take you through the fact that, first of all, we can make content available to people. Again, it looks and smells like Netflix because it works. Let's be honest. They found a format that really works for me. The system, based on my own personal interests and a combination of my career and progression path, can recommend or have curated for me content to take in multiple modes and formats. Now, that might be that might not necessarily be anything that's terribly new, except for the fact that we have 17 years worth of data to tell, to guide the learner based on historical data about how they might learn most effectively in their role, and how they might, for example, collaborate and group that learning with other people. So the idea is I can not only take that learning, I'm not going to bore you by actually launching it, but we can also introduce other concepts. So being able to, of course, gamify it, badgeify it, incentivize it, but also being able to use this as a means for actually creating or reviewing this content to guide other learners in their learning journey, in their learning quest. Oops. Oh. All right. Well, looks like I didn't want to go full screen. All right, let's try that again. There we we go. All right. Let's go back. All right. So, promise not to do too many more technology swaps here, folks, because I knew it was going to be tough. So we can also leverage the concept of not only learning, content that's been provided to us, of course. There is always this emerging trend for actually community-based, knowledge-based sharing. And in our world, that's done by a combination of structured learning and being able to group subject matter experts, moderators, and other people who are able to, there we go. There we go. So I can be, there we go, guided into a world of learning, again, based on who I am, where I am, or how I interact with people, whether I'm new to role, whether, for example, I'm new to the business, whether I aspire to be a leader, community, a community expert or topic matter expert. And in this case, we can have a combination of dynamic, timeline-fed, thought leadership-based content that can, not only be files, web links, discussions, the concept of the sociality associated with it. But if something's good enough, I can later decouple it and turn that unstructured discussion or that unstructured piece of information that was provided into something which can be re-leveraged and delivered to others. So if somebody contributed a great post or a thought on, for example, leadership, okay, I'm not only going to return content which might fulfill or might, I can give you a course, I can deliver you an experience, I can put you on a learning track or give you a video or a bite-sized element of learning. But again, why not focus on the people who can make that happen? So exposing the talents, the learning capabilities for either mentorship, buddies, cohorts within the system so that I can actually choose and investigate, pull people's talents and align to those. And furthermore, being able to search those unstructured discussions, being able to take the information which was contributed and turn that into purposeful learning objects which can be assigned, tracked, traced, and completed. Okay? And that's in addition to some of the other modes of learning that we might very well have. So we always, we have, our learners, for example, they have, many different modes of learning. So, like I say, exposing the concept of a talent profile rather than just a learning platform. The idea that everyone who joins an organization has skills and talents, which again can not only feed their interaction with learning, but can also drive automated, machine-guided recommendations, and can also guide the people that they associate with, either in a hierarchical, org chart structure, or people from, in organizations which have disparate pools of talent, whether they're geographically or functionally dispersed. I can look for people who I maybe didn't think of before and associate with them. And yes, I have a centralized learning record. That's, of course, the nature of any LMS. I can deliver content in multiple modes and formats, but what I want to do is I want to use the activity, the completion of this as a springboard for other actions and thoughts. So if I've completed a video, if I've taken a TED Talk, if I've gone to, if I've gone somewhere else, use it as a springboard for recognizing, rewarding, providing a certificate, and then use it to drive additional machine-guided or automated recommendations for that next step. All right, and these can be a combination of curated and or automated recommendations for that next step in the learning journey. Okay. Okay, so we've talked about the community concept, but also what the community concept allows us to do is to also deliver a common path of training to those people, to welcome them into the organization, but also to allow for distributed discussion, cohorting, and topics, which can actually allow distance-based virtual communities. And at the end of the day, what we can do is we also want to see what happens with data And from our perspective, we've mentioned the analytics side of things. I'll just show you a little bit about what we do about it. Historically, we've taken, a lot of the systems here will report on the training that people have taken. They will report on the test scores that people have got. But what they not necessarily do is take the traits of those people and map it against their career path, or indeed their likely next step within your organization. So becoming more of predictive in what traits of a modern learner are, ensure success, but also what are the common paths or traits from, what should I do next? And that's where the system can really, add value. If you're using a system for centralizing learning for a population or indeed your entire company, why not take that to the next level and use characteristics of the data that you've gathered to make intelligent predictions and model the potential success of your organization. An example, okay. So I mentioned 3 quick examples for you. So this is, again, bridging into the, the predictive realm. Let me just get rid of, there we go. So you get some more real estate. And again, I'll just browse through it very quickly. Please come see us at Stand 11 if you have any further questions. But one idea is that taking many, many data points around learning, give that a minute to refresh. There we go. What are the potential factors which might affect or increase compliance within an organization? So compliance is an important, important aspect for many, many organizations. So again, maybe, for example, how long I've been with my current manager, for example. What type of, who's providing the content? Maybe, there we go. How long is the training? Does shorter or longer training affect, how people are going to actually do or react to it? So the idea is I can take many of these and more. There we go. And I can start to perform modeling on these, which allows, with enough data, being able to say, well, maybe if, for example, I shift the format or the content of the training to another provider or, to another format, maybe, for example, I can say maybe I want to focus on training of a shorter duration. And there's many other factors that can be taken into account in any model of how this training might actually happen. And then the resulting output can actually affect the compliance rate. Okay, and so you can model it, how it's going to affect, and I won't be able to analyze it here because it'll take a bit too long, but the idea is you can affect these factors, analyze it, and then see the results. Okay? The second way that we can do this is maybe we can identify common traits and characteristics of people who are progressing from one career to another. So let's just say, for example, I'm an IT, maybe an IT manager, engineer, and I propose to progress to another career. What would that career look like? Based on the people who have taken learning to progress their way through paths in the organization, well, this is where the system can then provide guidance on the training, the timeline, how many people have done this journey before, and the coursework that's needed to get there, so that you can optimize the type of coursework, experiences, competency models that you provide to actually guide people in the right direction. And the very last example I'm going to mention quickly, and again, we can come on down to the booth and we'll show you more, is what are my likely career paths as an individual? So this is actually bringing it to the individual level. where based on, again, Janet as an app engineer and her desire to progress, let me zoom out a little bit so you can see this. All right. So based on the combination of learning and or performance paths, we can actually plot her potential and, of course, historically based on what others have done. And then we can assess how skilled up she is according to the training and competency assessments which have been performed for the role. And we can also investigate on a case-by-case basis how a particular course, module, piece of learning or experience has actually contributed to either competence or skill for either the role that I currently hold or the role that I aspire to. Okay? All right, to round this out, there we go. So the idea is that to sum up what I've shown you, what we can show you in the back, we basically have taken data and data trends from all dimensions of business, types of learning, modes of learning, occupations and geographies, invested 6 years worth of R&D into that to actually come up with general models based on some of the factors that I've discussed with you, and we can use that use those models as developed at the macro level to apply to any organization which actually is trying or has enough data to be able to make predictions about where they're going to actually invest in learning and R&D. Okay. So, a few last points. First of all, a bit more information on these technologies and trends on a Cornerstone On Demand's website, on our Make It campaign. And I also, of course, invite you just directly behind you to stand 11 to find a little bit more about it. So thank you very much for your time and attention, and have a good afternoon at the show. Thanks again.